Hey, hey, hey! Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Marines Disquisition heard live all the way around the world, from Sochi, Russia, Kazan, Russia, the 6 counties of Northern Ireland. I want to thank Doug for getting up and doing his dastardly deed, or staying up, I should say, because it's 2,200 hours there in Ireland, as it is at Greenwich Mountain, or Greenwich Mean Time around the world. 2,200 hours to 2,400 hours. This is a Marines Disquisition heard around the world, in every climb and every place. I want to welcome all of you guys out there. I want to thank all of you that are chiming in, giving me the heads up that things are working well. Thank you very much for what you do out there, ladies and gentlemen. It's just one more day in trying to fight the New World Order, and this day is designated to fight the New World Order with the financial system that we all see out there, and it's destroying us left and right. You've had the opportunity to listen to Dr. Johnny Hayes, Dr. Rebecca Corley, Dr. I call her Doctor, Mary Joan Mondello, the master herbalist. She's not just a master herbalist, she's a CH herbalist. Those of you that don't know what those designations are, you need to look those up. 4 degrees as an herbalist. Those of you that heard the show yesterday, I appreciate you tuning in, and I appreciate you guys sending me questions. I forwarded one out to Mary Joan, and I want to let you all know that she may be a small business lady up there in Maine and owns her own 40 acres or 20 acres of land and does her own herbs, but she's as close as a phone call, and she will teach you, ladies and gentlemen, how to do your own herbs so you can protect yourself, because there's not going to be any phone calls pretty soon. One day in the near future, phone calls, power is going to go out, and you need to know how to protect yourself. Just like we had Dr. Darrell Dickinson with the Dickinson Cattle Ranch out there, the Dickinson Farms, that has the only natural, 100% natural beef product in a can, guaranteed to last 5 years, not 4 years, 360 days, 5 years guaranteed, and he's pushing the envelope because he's telling me now that they've had some out there for 7 years, but only because his product hasn't been in cans for more than 10 years can he put out another guarantee. But that's coming up. And then you've got the freeze-dry guy. Those of you that have heard him on other shows, you need to help the freeze-dry guy, because the freeze-dry guy really does assist people like Bob Chapman and all of the people out here on all of the alternative talk radios to get the truth out there. Mr. Chapman comes in with the International Forecaster. That's the 3 W's, the International Forecaster, and he brings insight to you guys out there. Just like Harry S. Truman said in 1951, when even one American who has done nothing wrong is forced by fear to shut his mind and close his mouth, then all Americans are in peril. Mr. Chapman is one of those people that has had to vacate his homeland of the United States and get under the radar, but he's not underneath the radar. He's out there letting you all know to protect yourself. He's got the most famous newsletter in the world, and I want to let you know it's an honor to have him on my show weekly on Thursday. So pass it around, guys. You're in the military. He comes here for you. Give him a call. Let him know you're out there. Put your money together. Get 5 or 6 of you to get his newsletter. Pass it around. I'm beseeching you, because in his newsletter, he doesn't just have the finances. He also supports an herbalist. He also supports the news, the factual news, not just the scene in New York City, but he shows you the news around the world. Mr. Chapman, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. It's nice to be here again. And stop building me up. I'm going to get an ego problem. Gee, can you imagine a 73-year-old getting an ego problem?
Well, I got news for you, sir. You deserve every ego problem that you could possibly get.
Incidentally, for the listeners, the last couple of weeks I've been doing quite a few shows on Fox Radio and the different cities. And I also did one with G. Gordon Liddy as well. It had to do with the trading of these carbon credits, and so I've been kind of branching out a bit. Also, we have more subscribers coming in the military and contractors as well, from Iraq and Afghanistan. And so any of you people out there who do subscribe, particularly in any military capacity or close to it, like a contractor, you please take the forecaster and email it to others, so people who are really interested, and mail it to others so that they can understand what's going on.
Betty's Brigade chimes in and says Betty's not here yet, but because she had to go out and pick up one of her kids that was sick, but she wanted to let Mr. Chapman know that she's doing her due diligence to pass the newscaster around, and she puts it in the hands of some of these officers around here that think they know something, but they don't.
Well, it's something that most people don't know about, and that is business, finance, social, political issues, because they're too busy. And many of them haven't been trained in that area at all. And so that's why we have the publication. And they just, all they have to do is make a couple of hours available during the week to find out all the things that they need to know, no matter where they are. And so it's important. We put a lot into it, and we do it so that we can help people make the decisions which will protect them.
Mr. Chapman, I personally have a question here. What do you think about this this report that just came in today about well, it came out yesterday, I think, but it was reported this morning that the bank stress test out there is where the FDIC is giving an A to everybody. What kind of lies is that?
Well, it's really tragic because they are keeping some of their toxic garbage, which is losing bets, off of their balance sheet, and even within their balance sheets, they're marking to model and not to market. When you mark to market, let's say that you own $1 million worth of IBM bonds as a bank, and the bonds traded today at 105, which means they traded $50 over par. Par is 1,000. So if you bought them at par, you had a little profit, and that would be marked to market. Now, if you mark to model, and let's say that you own some CDOs, collateralized debt obligations, and they haven't traded for 3 or 4 months, and when you bought them, you paid par, but the only trades that you've seen in anything similar were at, say, 15 cents on the dollar. And if you had to mark to the market, you'd have to use that figure, which would show an 85% loss on the purchase of those collateralized debt obligations, which are syndicated bonds that have mortgages inside of them. And they don't have to do that. They are told if there isn't a liquid market, then you have to use your best estimate of what the bonds are worth. Well, self-regulation does not work. You got to have rules. And with mark to model, there are no rules. It is what you think it is. And so instead of marking the bonds, these collateralized debt obligation bonds at 15 cents, which is the last trade, say, 4 months ago, they'll mark them at 85 cents. And that's why they all have good stress test results. It's a big lie. The 19 largest banks in the country are insolvent. And if they're not insolvent, why don't they come out and explain it to us? Well, they're not going to do that. because they are insolvent. And so the Federal Reserve and now the FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which is part of the government, has said that they passed the stress test. Well, how can you pass a stress test when what you've done is not honest? It's not the real world. It's not the real market. And there's other instances too. And then, a lot of this money that the banks have, they borrowed it from the government. And they found no trouble starting a few years ago, actually 22 months ago,